Heading into the heart of the fall term with a lot on our respective plates, I heard a number of students talking about heavy loads of homework, tests, and papers that were due ahead of the long weekend, which means that faculty members are busy preparing classes and covering that homework as they also assess those tests and papers and chip away at college recommendations. Those of you in the class of 2019 are working harder than you ever have academically and are also tasked with trying to figure out college applications and what might be next for you in the coming year. That's no easy balancing act. If you're in the class of 2020, I suspect you are confronting an academic program that is unlike any you have confronted before, and you are emerging in areas of school life you are passionate about and where we are fortunate to have your engagement. If you're in the class of 2021 or 2022, you are still new or safely within the first half of your Brooks careers and are juggling how to work hard in and out of the classroom, make meaningful connections, and set some roots in your school. This all says very little about the impressive manner in which you pour yourselves into afternoon activities of all kinds, enriching one another's lives in ways that must occasionally exhaust you. And some here, within the confines of our 270-acre campus, there's a lot of good, important, and impressive work going on. You have a lot to carry, and I, for one, believe you're doing that well. It's also true that there's a lot in circulation around our 270-acre campus, or perhaps outside of the Brooks bubble we refer to from time to time. There's certainly too much to take on in one chapel talk, but with plans to think with you about my love of fall or autumn at Brooks and the beauty of our campus at this time of year, I was staggered at the beginning of the week by a United Nations report that was released regarding the state of climate change and the environment. The fact that the news was ominous did not surprise me, as I think a major obstacle to reversing the current global warming trend is how accustomed we have become to ominous environmental news. It seems many are either numb to the news or in some form of denial I have a hard time understanding. The report centers on where global temperatures and climate change will likely be in the year 2040 if greenhouse gas emissions simply continue at current levels. That is just 22 years from now. I have a fairly good memory of 22 years ago, 1996, and suspect many adults here do as well. The point being that the ominous future of our planet and climate seems to be closer to us than ever before. Sobering news. The report was sanctioned by the United Nations following a 2015 climate change accord agreed to in Paris by well over 100 countries, including the United States at the time. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change conducted the study and is comprised of 91 scientists representing 40 countries around the world. The panel considered more than 6,000 scientific studies informing its conclusions, with nothing to gain from being anything other than honest brokers. These scientists indicate that global temperatures will continue to rise in ways that will lead higher sea levels to inundate coastlines, intensify droughts, and exacerbate poverty. According to a New York Times piece, the report notes worsening food shortage and wildfires and a mass die-off of coral reefs. I've not read the whole report, and there's much more to it than I can cover. Yet the fact that the authors point to there being no documented historic precedent for making changes to the world's economy at a speed and scale required to reverse the current direction should give all of us pause. According to my birthday list, all of you who are students will turn some age between 35 and 41 in the year 2040. You'll be roughly halfway to an average life expectancy in the United States. I think we can safely presume that global warming will only intensify between now and 2040 if inertia, inaction, indifference, or denial get in the way. I confess to feeling overwhelmed at times by the magnitude of the challenge and somewhat powerless to make a difference in reversing the trend. At times, we have engaged in environmental stewardship efforts of our own in ways that have elevated our consciousness about our need to be better stewards of the earth. This has been and remains important, and we could do better. Still, the fact remains that absent international, broad-based coalitions working together at an enormous scale, with the United States serving in a lead role, current trends are not likely to be reversed. Perhaps yet to be discovered technological improvements will help. Perhaps inspired leaders will take up the charge in ways we have not yet realized. We will likely need both. As I read a few articles on the subject, I found my thinking turning to all of you and the beauty of this campus on a perfect fall day. I noted a number of years ago in a chapel talk that there is no better day than a perfect fall day on Brooks School's campus. At the time, I defined that perfect day in the same way I would today: 67 degrees. Not 68 or 66, 67 degrees precisely. Deep, deep blue sky, without a cloud anywhere. Light and variable wind, just enough. Zero humidity. Dew point under 50, and I can share with you the wonders of dew points after chapel if you'd like. Air that fills your lungs, even if you aren't breathing heavily. And everything around you is sharp and vivid and incredibly vibrant. If you took a mental snapshot while spending time outdoors on Friday of last week, you were experiencing my perfect day. It was like we were in a scene on the most advanced HD television you can find anywhere, that clear. To give you a feel for what I have in mind, I've asked some folks in the back there to share some pictures of our campus in the fall, which will just run on a loop while I continue for you to enjoy. And I do want to say that you will never persuade me to believe that there is a more beautiful place to go to school anywhere than where we all go to school. As I thought about all of you and all of this UN report and these incredible scenes on this incredible campus and my notion of a perfect fall day, I found myself increasingly frustrated that more is not being done in order to do all we can to ensure the planet's well-being for all of you in generations yet to come. Where are the alarm bells? Why is there not more urgency? I found myself wondering what these 91 scientists and thousands of others like them must be thinking as they offer warning after warning and continue to see the world fail to move in a more sustainable direction. The relative inaction must be excruciating for them. I found myself thinking that global warming and climate change would certainly be more front and center if the most privileged in the world were as vulnerable to rising temperatures as the millions of people living in both poverty and low-lying parts of the world where rising sea levels mean catastrophic consequences to already fragile ways of life. And in ways that I concede pale in comparison, to the many with much more immediate and grave concerns, I found myself thinking how sad it would be if at some undetermined point in the future, the vibrant, crisp, and cool fall day, the perfect fall day, somehow became a thing of the past, due only to our unwillingness to engage in what one could argue is the most pressing challenge of our time. I found myself thinking about what we might do to help. So after a one-year absence from the Chipotle Challenge, I want to introduce this year's version, the third of its kind, with a new wrinkle. The first time I launched a Chipotle Challenge was 3 years ago, when many in the class of 2019 were getting underway as third formers. I did so because I wanted to provide some incentive to get all of us out and about on this magnificent campus of ours, to see it up close and personal at what I think is the most impressive time of year, to step out of patterns and off of beaten paths in ways that might slow us down and put us in touch with our school in a new way. I did so to compel you to have fun with a Chipotle dinner as the bribe. No apology for that. This year's Chipotle Challenge will work as follows. First, you will need to visit 5 of my favorite places on campus, an updated list from 3 years ago, and take a photograph or short video of your group at each of the 5 locations. Second, you will need to visit one of your own favorite outdoor places on campus and take a photograph or a short video of your group at that location. And third, your group will need to share with me an idea or recommendation you believe will make the school better environmental stewards. My pledge to you is that I will share your ideas and recommendations with the Board of Trustees later in the year, and perhaps your idea will become the school's practice. So here are my 5 locations. You may visit them in any order. First, there are many stone memorials all over our campus. You should visit all of them, I think. But my favorite one continues to be the one honoring Peter Nicholson, Brooks School class of 1979. He died in service to his country. This memorial is tucked into the beginning of the trees by the boathouses. Here you should take in the vast and expansive view of the lake and take a picture of your group huddled around the stone with the lake behind you. Second, while I am in my 29th year here, I have never been in the observatory. I have been to it a number of times, however, when I walk my dog. So I would like you to find your way there with your group and be inspired as you look back at your school, out toward the lake, and take a picture with all of you in that scene. Third, 3 years ago, we had not yet acquired the land and home that Miss Perkins currently lives in on the other side of the stone wall beyond the observatory. It is a beautiful piece of land. Follow the road that leads to Mr. Latham's home. Keep going past the end of the road. Hurdle the stone wall into what we might call Miss Perkins's front yard. Position your group on the grass between 2 landscaped areas and take your photo with the lake in the background. It is a magnificent view. Fourth, if you walk the fire trail from the boathouses, you will eventually get to a point that is well above the water and will give you a feeling that the lake is all around you. Breathe in the view and take a picture of your group there. And then fifth, go to the corner of the girls' thirds soccer field closest to the stone wall. Look at the majestic view of the lake between the trees and take a picture of your group with the lake and those trees in the background. Once you've taken these 5 pictures and added a picture of your own favorite outdoor place on campus to the mix, send them to me by email along with your environmental stewardship idea or recommendation. If you complete these tasks by the end of next week, Saturday, October 20th, you will have met this year's Chipotle Challenge. And as a bonus, if you send a poem, as Miss Holmes's class did 3 years ago, you might find it is the first reading at next year's Chipotle Challenge. If you haven't committed all of this to memory, fear not. I will send it to all of you by email following chapel. Well, I hope Chipotle makes this fun. I also hope enjoying the splendor of our campus inspires us to elevate our collective level of engagement in being good environmental stewards. Brooks School cannot solve the world's global warming crisis. We can, however, keep the challenge in the front of our minds, engage in it, and be a part of the effort aimed at ensuring, among many other things, the perfect fall day at our school will always be a part of the Brooks experience. I will look forward to your pictures, your ideas, your recommendations, and to a great evening of Chipotle at some point before we head into Thanksgiving vacation 5 weeks from Saturday. Have fun. Thank you.